Okay, welcome back everyone. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. We have one session now that will take us up to the afternoon break, and then in session 7 will commence after the break, where we'll be having a private sector download. But for this session, let me hand you over to Graham Small, who's our Senior Technical Manager at IVCC, to introduce our speakers. Graham.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my very great pleasure to introduce our two speakers this afternoon. Both of them are from our GLP certified facilities in Africa. So we have Corine, who's from CREC-LSHTM in Benin, and we have Edie, who is from CSRS in Côte d'Ivoire. So just to briefly introduce you to the two speakers, Corine is an Associate Professor of Medical Entomology at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and she's also Facility Manager at the CREC-LSHTM PAMVERC GLP Certified Facility that is hosted by the Centre de Recherche Entomologique de Cotonou, CREC, as part of the Ministry of Health in Benin. She led her research unit in Benin to become the first GLP-certified facility for vector control product evaluation in West Africa in 2018, and that was in collaboration with IVCC. Corine has extensive experience in the evaluation of novel vector control products, both ITNs and IRS products, and the identification of suitable methods for testing their efficacy and durability. She has led several vector control research projects funded by IVCC and works with many leading companies to generate efficacy data for their products. Corine is a member of the WHO Vector Control Advisory Group, and is also co-chair of the Vector Control Working Group of the Rollback Malaria Partnership. Now to move on to Edie. So Edie is a senior researcher at the CSRS facility in Côte d'Ivoire. He has multidisciplinary expertise in several areas, including disease monitoring, surveillance, quality systems, and has managed a number of field and lab studies on vector control products, including studies for IVCC and our industrial partners. And in addition to that, Edie was coordinator of the GLP project at CSRS, and he is also central coordinator at CSRS for the USAID PMI entomological surveillance, vectors, bionomics, and insecticide resistance in Côte d'Ivoire. Edie is a member of the National Technical Committee for Vector Control at the Ministry of Health in Côte d'Ivoire, and is also a member of CSRS NTD team, which was awarded the 11th CSRS Hermitage Foundation Prize for Research in 2021. And he is also president of PAMCA Côte d'Ivoire. He obtained his PhD in tropical medicine from the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine under an EC FP7 funded collaborative project between Africa European researchers to develop and evaluate new tools for disease control in Africa. So I'm pleased now to hand over to our first speaker, Corine.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to talk to you today about African leadership in vector control product evaluation, and specifically talking about the facility which I manage, which is the CREC London School and PAMVEC facility based in CREC in Benin. So first of all, I want to thank IVCC for inviting me to give this talk. So, Yeah. To begin, we know that vector control has played a key role in bringing down malaria cases, malaria burden over the years. I think we can never be tired of showing this graph, which really spectacularly shows the contribution of vector control. And that's mostly due to two interventions, which are ITENs and IRS. And these, for many years, have depended on such a very limited class of insecticides, pyrethroids for ITENs, and then for IRS, we had pyrethroids, carbamates, organophosphates, and also DDT. So, but this, as we know, has led to the selection of resistance. We are no longer even just talking about whether there is resistance or not, because it continues to increase in intensity, and we now have resistance everywhere. We're just thinking more about how intense resistance is. And in a way to respond to this, in 2012, the WHO released the Global Plan for Insecticide Resistance Management. It's quite an old document, but still very important today. And it just gives advice on how to manage insecticide resistance. So there are many pillars in this plan. You have one especially around applying insecticide resistance management strategies, and also one around identifying new chemical products, mostly new modes of actions that can be used for ITNs and IRS. And without new modes of actions, without a really diverse portfolio, we really cannot manage insecticide resistance. So there is a need to continuously invest in new products. So this is from the WHO documents on the norms, standards, and processes underpinning WHO vector control policy development. And I'm sure most of us are familiar with this. So we have two pathways, which are the new intervention pathway and the pre-qualification pathway. And all of these lead to a product being listed, added to the WHO list, and becoming available to procurers. So I know that for most companies, the target is to have their products on this list, and there's quite a lot that you need to do to have your product on this list, and that's the WHO pre-qualification list, and I'm sure we have colleagues from the PQ team who can talk a lot more about what it takes to be on this list. But as I know, you have to provide a dossier, which includes all these 6 modules. And the one that concerns us the most there is the efficacy, module 5. And these are the guidelines that you have to use to generate your efficacy data in order to submit your dossier to WHO. And the efficacy data, the testing, should be done following WHO applicable guidelines, testing guidelines from WHO. And from my understanding, or what we have been doing so far, is that when a company comes up with a new product, be it an ITN or an IRS, we first of all run laboratory bioassays to look at the intrinsic characteristics of this product. And then after that, if they do well in lab assays, then we run them in semi-field, mostly experimental herd trials for ITNs and IRS. And if they do well in herd trials, then we can go into community trials. And the idea is that with your semi-field data and your community trial data, you could secure a WHO PQ listing and a policy recommendation if the results are very good, depending on whether it's a new product or not. And at the time that the responsibilities of WUPES were passed on to PQ, I think there was this requirement that was put forward that it's important that the data which is generated for the safety, efficacy, and quality requirements are generated according to good laboratory practice. But at that time, there were really no facilities that in Africa that were GLP certified for testing vector control products, so it seemed like a really huge challenge. But with support from IVCC and the Gates Foundation, we set out to make some changes at our facility, which is in Benin. And we have been existing for some time, I think about 10 years prior to that. And we were conducting these type of studies, but we didn't have any GLP certification. But with the support from IVCC, we put in about 3 years of work. We did some changes. And in January 2019, we were certified GLP compliant by the South African National Accreditation System. But what did we do to achieve GLP certification? First, we did a lot of infrastructural improvements. We established an equipment management system. I know in other areas, GLP may be a common thing, but in Africa, it's not very common. So it was a really challenging process for us. And we did have to build infrastructure to allow us to separate the processes that we undertake in our testing, and also to enable us to have environmental control. And we did establish equipment systems to be able to calibrate equipment and maintain them correctly according to GLP standards. Also, we had to change our personnel structure. We had to put in place a quality assurance unit and also have staff that were trained as study directors to direct studies, to be able to run the studies themselves. And we also established a staff training system where we run a training program every 1 to 2 years to retrain the staff on the common tasks that they have to perform each day. And also for the test items, it was important that we make sure that there is no contamination between test items. So we established procedures for receiving them, for registering them, for storing them, and how to use them. And one of the most challenging aspects of the GLP system was around writing up standard operating procedures. During the time, we had to write about 300 standard operating procedures, and we're happy that we're able to do that successfully. And also, we had to put in place a system for managing data and for archiving data. We had to have a server in place and an archive room where we could store the data now, both electronically and physically, for even up to 15 years. And one interesting part of the GLP system was the quality assurance unit, because this unit was set up and trained to ensure our continuous compliance through inspections and follow-up. And also another task that we gave the unit was to assess our quality indicators. We came up with a series of quality indicators. I don't know if they're visible there, but there were quite a lot. We're looking at the level of control mortality that we have in our bioassays. We are looking at the delays that we have when we conduct studies. Are we running too late to provide the reports to the sponsors of the studies? So many. So we track this every year and we try to improve. And apart from this, every year we are also inspected by the South African National Accreditation System to ensure that we continue to comply. And just as one of our indicators, we track the number of projects that we've been having. You can see before GLP, we're really struggling to get projects. But after that, there was quite a substantial increase. So between 2019 and 2022, we had about 57 vector control products that we tested. And 29 of them were new brands of vector control products. Some of them have been submitted and have been listed by PQ already, and some of them, the sponsors are in the process of either improving the products or maybe planning to submit sometime. And one that is of very important to me is the participation. That's how far we can employ people through the work that we do. And you can see the numbers of our full-time staff has increased substantially over the year. Right now, we are about 71 full-time staff. There are other staff who support, like in the HERT trials, who are temporary, and those go to the hundreds, to be honest. But full-time, we are 71 staff, and there is a lot of satisfaction. So this is good because Benin is a country that has a lot of underemployment, and to be able to give opportunity to people to sort of express their talents has been very fulfilling. And what kind of product testing do we do? So we do phase 1 GLP laboratory testing of IRS products, where we create blocks of substrates, mud, concrete, and we treat them with new IRS insecticides, and we test over months to look at the residual efficacy of the IRS insecticides. And also we do GLP laboratory testing of ITN products, where we test them for their wash resistance and their efficacy to see if they can resist the number of washes that are required, both in cone bioassays and internal tests. And also, we have a station in Kove in Benin, where the vector population is highly resistant to pyrethroids. And there we have 74 experimental huts that we have constructed, and we are able to run herd trials year-round for both ITNs, IRS, and any product that can be used indoors, including spatial repellents. And we can also perform non-inferiority trials following WHO guidelines. And in addition to that, we also perform community trials. We have in the process of completing the new NETS trial, which is about testing interceptor G2 and royal GAT, and also community trials of IRS products. We completed one with the Vectron T500. So to support our testing, we do have to maintain our insectaries. We have about 3 insectaries that we maintain. To ensure the quality of these strains, we have to characterize and assess their fitness every 3 to 4 months. Right now, we have 10 different strains that we maintain. We have 5 anopheline strains, 2 Aedes, and 3 Culex strains. Some are resistant to different insecticides, and some are susceptible. So our contribution to the vector control community has been a lot in the development of next generation ITN products, testing them like G2 and Royal GAT and also Olisejo. There are other products, but due to confidentiality reasons, I cannot mention further products. And also new IRS products like Fluidora Fusion and clofenapyr, we contributed to their testing, and also Vectron T500. And I think this is not news anymore. There was a trial of interceptor G2 and royal GAD in Benin that we led. We do perform other types of studies like spatial repellents, personal repellents, larvicides, household sprays, and also looking at the durability of new types of nets, because in many countries they don't have access to resistant strains to be able to test new types of nets. So we have sometimes been called upon to support in testing the bioefficacy of nets from different countries. And we are also involved in other operational research activities to support the National Malaria Control Program, such as the perennial malaria control, malaria chemoprevention study, the PLUS project, which is Unit 8 funded, that CREC is part of, and also a study looking at the interpretation of malaria iriditis that is funded by PMI Insights through PATH. And we support capacity building. Every year we try to receive students from different universities, the London School and also in Benin, to support them for their projects. And also we support training of vector control experts in national malaria control programs. So we have a lot of interest in those kind of projects. And what have been our challenges? Because I'm putting some of these things forward in the hope that I imagine that there are challenges that other facilities do face. I think one of them is around the sustainability of funding. We don't know what happens to vector control in the future. So I don't know, we're thinking about sort of moving into much more of a contract research kind of organization that will allow us to perhaps bringing more funding. And also to solve that, we want to expand beyond just testing vector control products and looking at other aspects such as analytical chemistry, diagnostics, genomics, and others. And also one of the challenges is around ensuring equitable partnerships. It's a bit of a challenge these days, and making sure that they're mutually beneficial and there is respect, and building South-South regional collaborations. This is a challenge because we tend to work in silos, but I do believe that when we come together, we foster research. I think the way the research environment is set up, it's very difficult for South-South relationships to flourish. And also looking at how we can get advanced training in especially things like soft skills, business development, data analysis and modeling, and artificial intelligence. So here I just show our aspirations for the next few years, and we want to simply expand on the product range that we test. We want to look into getting into much more into genomics and molecular biology, analytical chemistry, operational research, and to think of building, because we get a lot of requests around trainings, so maybe we can establish online training courses for those who come to us. And these are some of the South-South partnerships that we have managed to, that we work together with people. They are not yet where we want them to be, but I'm hoping that this is something that we can build on in the future. And for acknowledgements, I want to acknowledge all the funders, those who have funded us, the Gates Foundation, USAID, UNIT-AID, the Global Fund, the FIT, the WHO, and most of the funding we have received has come through IVCC. And also our industry partners, I want to acknowledge them. Also thank you for the confidence that you have in the work that we do. I may not have all the logos here, but I just want to appreciate them. And this is a team that I lead in Benin. I'm inspired by their commitment to vector control testing, and I look forward to continuously doing what I'm doing. Thank you very much. That's the end.